Hey, what's up, everybody? Tony Cotillo, PhillyInfluencer.com, Fox Sports The Gambler, Heat Ratio Sports. What is going on? Oh, man, what a day. What a day here on the Fantasy Firebox. It did not start out like I planned, put it that way. It usually happens. This is what happens on a Sunday morning when you have a family and you have kids and you have a billion soccer games and picture day, and dude, it's just crazy. Parents that are listening right now, they understand what I'm talking about right now, right? Give me 1 second to get this stuff together. I want to talk a little fantasy, man. I hope everybody's getting their fantasy game day lineups in. I know it's early, but it's never too early to talk fantasy football. Never too early to talk fantasy football. That's one thing I've learned. The updates change throughout the day, so obviously keep everything posted. Make sure you're following. I will update people as much as possible when I get time. But there's some interesting developments already. I mean, a couple guys, we go right off the bat and talk about guys like Cortland Sutton who look like they may play today. Golden Tate, who looks like he may play today. That's got tremendous implications on guys like Darius Slayton, guys like Jerry Jeudy, guys like Noah Fant, who I've been very high on all week. And now there could be some targets taken away from them. But, listen, the one thing about fantasy is you just never know what's going to happen, right? Never know what's going to happen. So I'm trying to get all my stuff together here. We're going to go by each game. I don't want to sit there and go this person versus this person. Let's talk about guys I'm really high on, guys I'm really low on. Did a couple shows this week all over talking about, basically guys like Melvin Gordon. What do we expect out of Melvin Gordon in week 2? We all know that Philip Lindsay has the infamous turf toe. He will not play. And Melvin Gordon is a very interesting piece because Melvin Gordon was brought to Denver to be the man. Okay, he was. Make no mistake about it. Vic Fangio wanted Melvin Gordon to be the man. You know why? Because Melvin Gordon's ability to pass block and get out in the flat and work in space as a pass-catching tailback is something that he wanted to bring in there for Drew Lock. So what we also have to look at is how that lion share was going to go. And with week 1 with Philip Lindsay getting injured, it kind of helped any owner who took Melvin Gordon really early to be that number 1 guy. He did produce. Now, he's going up against a Pittsburgh team that really, really held in check a guy named Saquon Barkley. And the reason why I say that is Saquon had 6 yards rushing. 6. That's not good. Right now, he did get out in the flat, which, listen, that's where Melvin Gordon lives. But that defense in Pittsburgh is very, very talented, led by a guy named Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree has the ultimate title of probably becoming one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Just give him another year. He will be that good. Now, when we look at things of that nature, you have to look at other players in that game on the other side of the ball. And you have to look at Benny Snell. I've been on Benny Snell all week. Benny Snell came in and was electric in that game. Electric. 5.9 yards per carry. 113 yards on 19 carries. He looked like he had an extra step. He looked like he had an extra gear. So if you were able to pick up Benny Snell, or if he was your handcuff when you drafted, I would suggest 100% that's a guy that you put in your lineup right now. Now, we also look at the Indianapolis Colts, right? We're looking at who is going to be the guy. Is it going to be Nyheim Hines? Is it going to be Jonathan Taylor? Now, we were all on Jonathan Taylor coming into the year. We were all saying he was going to be the number 1 tailback coming in, not Marlon Mack, right? But Nyheim Hines has shown that he caught 8 balls. And Phillip Rivers threw the ball 46 times, which is something I think we all kind of did not expect, especially when we talk about Frank Reich, because we know when he was in Philadelphia, he was the guy in Doug's ear. Yo, Doug, you need to run the ball. You need to run the ball. Well, that didn't happen in week 1. Not sure why, but there's some intriguing options for the Indianapolis Colts this week. Now, look at a guy like Paris Campbell. Philip Rivers is always locked into big receivers all the time, whether it be Mike Williams, whether it be Tyrell Williams, whether it be Antonio Gates. He's always, and I know Antonio Gates is a tight end, but he's a big guy. He likes the speed guys, but he likes those tall guys, right? Keenan Allen is going to be the equivalent of T.Y. Hilton. That's what it's going to be. But Paris Campbell has the ability to be not only the red zone guy, but the guy that Philip Rivers likes to throw a lot of balls where you got to go up and get. And Paris Campbell could be the recipient of a lot of those balls. And to get back on Nyheim Hines, and I said this earlier in the week, if you watch my shows, if you followed the Fantasy Fix on the Gambler, you will know already how big I was on Nyheim Hines. Now, I was big on Nyheim Hines because you have to look at the history with a guy like Frank Reich. Look what he did in San Diego. See what he did when you have a guy like Danny Woodhead in 2013 and 2015, because he tore his ACL in 14. But in 2 years, 156 catches. 156 catches. That's what he made out of Danny Woodhead. And that is what, in my opinion, what you're going to see out of Nyheim Hines. I'm very excited to see Nyheim Hines and what he's going to do this week. I understand that people are jumping on the Jonathan Taylor wagon, and that is fine. But I am telling you right now, I really, really, really like Nyheim Hines, especially against a Minnesota defense that gave up 43 points to the Green Bay Packers last week. That was something we did not expect. I did not expect that, honestly. I really didn't. And I get it that it's week one, and we can make that excuse for every team, but something seemed off in Minnesota, and I don't think it's going to rectify itself automatically in week two. Some other interesting scenarios. I think, in my opinion, start of the week, I don't know about you guys, for my quarterback position, is two guys, Josh Allen and Tom Brady. And I know all the projections you read it is all about Kyler Murray. It's all about, listen, Kyler Murray is the guy. I want to wait another week on Kyler Murray. I know he had a fantastic week last week, but I still want to see if he can be consistent. I do. And obviously, if he's your quarterback in your regular league, you're not going to bench Kyler Murray, but I'm talking more for DFS. I'm talking more for Streamline, right? I would go more with Josh Allen this week. You've seen what Cam Newton did, 75 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns against Miami last week, only was 15-19. That is your absolutely prototypical Josh Allen game. Now, Josh Allen last week, 71% completion rate, which was tremendous, 312 yards, still got the end zone with his legs. He has a new weapon in Stephon Diggs, who caught 8 for 81 last week. John Brown still went long. Like I told everybody, John Brown is now going to be the long guy. He's going to benefit from a lot of single coverage against the number 2 or number 3 corner on the opposing team. And that's exactly what a guy like Stephon brings to that front. That's exactly what happens. And that's what happened in that game in Buffalo. And I'm telling you right now, I really think that this week in Miami, Josh Allen is going to be a man possessed. Now, on the flip side, my other guy in Tom Brady, listen, Tom Brady is not going to be what you've seen. He faces a Carolina team that is absolutely in shambles. They are. They on the defensive side, they really have no competition. And this is a 303 touchdown game written all over it. And I understand Chris Godwin is out. Okay, Mike Evans will be 1 week healthier. I think you'll see Gronk get into the action a little bit. You'll see guys like O.J. Howard and Cameron breaking in the action. But Scotty Miller is a very intriguing, low-budget player when you're talking about DFS. When you start filling that lineup up, now I always go for the trifecta. Last week, my trifecta was Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, and Russell Wilson. I took those 3 guys. They were my 3 guys. That was my trifecta to say, okay, I want my big money quarterback, my big money receiver, and my big money running back. They all have to produce, and produce is what they did. They had 100 points between the 3 of them, so that was tremendous. So this week, Josh Allen is on one of my trifectas, okay? He is. I just think Josh Allen this week is going to be that guy. Julio Jones is on the other side of my trifecta when we talk about a receiver that is just going to ball out, because Calvin Ridley had a big week last week. Russell Gage had a big week last week, right? And Julio Jones was kind of a forgotten guy, even though Matt Ryan did throw for 450 yards. So we all know the history when Matt Ryan doesn't target Julio Jones heavily. We all know the history when Julio doesn't have the big game. The next game he comes in and he has the big game, right? So my running back is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I still think there is no competition for CEH out there in Kansas City. And I think that, again, you're looking at what Kareem Hunt did, when he came in as a rookie with the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid loves him, a rookie running back. And I think he will be another guy that's going to become a monster when we talk about fantasy football for whether you're DFS or your regular league. There's a ton of other scenarios. Al Robinson, who is setting up to have a really, really good week. There's guys all across the board. Look at the running back position. Josh Jacobs had a huge game, but against New Orleans, against that front and Dennis Allen, it's going to be interesting. Now, on the flip side, you look at New Orleans and no Michael Thomas. Is it going to be Emmanuel Sanders' show? I don't know if it's going to be his show. I think he will be able to get the targets and score, but I'm still intrigued by Traquan Smith. I think this is a week where Traquan Smith kind of steps up into that next role, into that next level, in order for that offense to continue to flow. You look at a guy like Todd Gurley. He only, again, 14 carries last week. So, you've seen that maybe they're not going to use him as heavy as we think. Kenyon Drake, I think, will have a solid game against Washington, but I still like two guys in that game because of they ran 82 offensive plays last week. 82 offensive plays. You know how many plays that is for an offense, right? When we talk about Arizona. So two guys to me stand out, that Christian Kirk and Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds last year, he had a fantastic year before he got hurt and lost all the season. That's why obviously they brought in Kenyon Drake. But there is an ability for Chase Edmonds to be a really good player on this team on a high prolific offense. We've seen it before. You see guys like James White all the time that are in high powered offenses that don't necessarily have to be the starter and get all the carries, but they do produce. And I think that's exactly what you're going to see when we talk about a guy like Chase Edmonds. Don't sleep on it. Christian Kirk is another guy who is going to benefit, just like we talked about earlier. We talk about guys that benefit like John Brown. Christian Kirk is in that same token. DeAndre Hopkins, 14 targets last week, or 14. Listen, the guy was amazing last week. And what he did was he opened up the field, especially down the seam, for a guy like Christian Kirk. And as long as Kyler Murray can move around and be mobile in the pocket, he will have the ability to hit him in stride all day long when we talk about the Arizona Cardinals. We look at guys last week that had really boomer bust weeks. Robbie Anderson was another guy that I thought was going to have a tremendous week. DJ Moore is obviously undoubtedly the number one guy for Teddy Two Gloves out there, but Robbie Anderson is the guy who goes deep. He is the guy. He's the speed guy. He's a big play guy. He's like their Deshaun Jackson, except he could stay healthy. No pun intended, but it is what it is. But I think Robbie Anderson is going to have not consistently week to week, but you're going to have to pick your spots. If you pick your spots wisely, you should be good. Now, one player I want to look at who's on my bust alert this week is Cam Newton. And everybody was in love with Cam Newton, and everybody was like, oh, wow, Cam's back. Listen, if Cam ran with his legs twice, 2 touchdowns and 75 yards, the problem is he would have only had 6 fantasy points if he didn't score those 2 touchdowns. So that's what you need to look at, especially when you're going to travel 3,000 miles to Seattle. And I understand that there's no 13th man, but it's still a hostile environment. Pete Carroll will have them boys ready to play. That defense will be ready to play no matter how inconsistent they've really been. This is going to be a tough matchup for Cam Newton and the New England Patriots, and I do not expect Cam Newton to have a big game today. I really don't. I think this is the time where, you see one of those Cam games where he's going to throw a lot, throw a couple picks, and really not be able to get outside of the pocket. So this could be a single-digit fantasy total when we talk about Cam Newton. I really want you people to be aware of that. Be aware when you're setting that lineup. I think there's other options out there, than Cam Newton. You just be very careful. He's high up on a lot of lists, but, I'd rather start a guy like Matt Ryan. I'll tell you what, I'd rather start a guy like Tyrod Taylor. I would start Tyrod Taylor over Cam Newton this week. Okay, I'm not. Listen, make no mistake about it. I would start Jared Goff over Cam Newton this week. I really would. Jared Goff looked really good with the play action. I think McVay will have him ready to go in Philadelphia today. I would start Ben Roethlisberger over Cam Newton. I do not expect Cam Newton to have a big day today. Listen, if you start him, I hope I'm wrong. But again, just from whatever analytics that I study, and whatever graphs that I read, everything when I put them all together, they just add up to not a big day for Cam. So it's just another guy you need to watch when you're setting your lineups. What's up, Mark? Checking in. Adams and the linebackers are athletic enough to exactly. And Mark, you know what's going to happen with Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, I mean, he's all about stopping that guy, right? Belichick is known for stopping the number one guy on offense, and I think Pete Carroll is going to do the same exact thing. So, when I look at that, that's why I'm not leaning towards a big day from Cam at all. I think there's a lot of other options out there that you could start instead of a guy like Cam Newton. Now, the interesting thing, what about Austin Ekeler? What are we going to get from Austin Ekeler this week? Everybody's asking. I mean, this might be, one of the most, watched debates in all fantasy this week. Who is going to be Joshua Kelly? Is it going to be Austin Ekeler? Who's going to get the ball more? This is a very interesting scenario because Anthony Lynn really threw us all for a loop. He really did. We were not expecting what we've seen from Austin Ekeler, especially when you pay a guy a ton of money. A guy has shown that he's been able to be a highly prolific running back when Melvin Gordon was hurt. He showed that he could shoulder the load. I mean, to have Joshua Kelly in there who looked really good, taking nothing away from Joshua Kelly, 12 carries, 60 yards. He was getting the ball inside the 10, which was very rare to me. I don't understand. You heard Anthony Lynn afterwards say he was trying to limit some of the passing out the box, which I don't understand. That was always been one of their bread and butter plays. I don't know why they would change it. Maybe it's because of the quarterback. I'm not sure, but I think you have to tread lightly. I think you also have to tread lightly with Miles Sanders. I love Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, to me, top 5 running back, if healthy, in my opinion, when we talk about fantasy football. But when guys come back from their lower body injuries in the first week, you really don't know. This offseason has really killed us from any kind of coverage standpoint. And during the season, already killing us as from any kind of fantasy standpoint, in the sense that we have no game day footage. What I mean by that is we have no practice footage. We have nothing that says, how did he look? What did he look like? Was he nimble? Was he quick? Was he able to cut? Did he have that quick speed? Is he 100%? We really don't know. We don't know. Will Doug ease him in? We don't also know, is this a game plan where, this is basically like, let's not put all our cards on the table here and let's just say he's going to play and we're only going to use it 20% of the time. Really, really hard year for fantasy owners. It really is. It's going to be a really tough decision. What I would say is, obviously, if we're talking your standard league, if we're talking your regular PPR, full point, half point, whatever you call it, and you drafted Miles Sanders, you have to roll with them. But if you're filling out your DFS lineups and you're, whether it's DraftKings, whether it's FanDuel, whether it's Thrive, wherever you're going and putting in your lineups, I might ease away from Miles Sanders this week just because I don't want to spend, $6,400 on a running back that I think that may only play half the time. It's just something to be cautious of, something to look at when you're putting those lineups in. There's no other way around it. It's just really something that you have to gauge for yourself. Now, going to the wide receiver position, I think there's a lot of big plays here. I do. I really like Julio Jones. I've said this before. I understand he has a little hammy, but listen, Julio has played his entire career throughout injury all the time. He's always played through injuries, whether it be hamstrings, groins, turf toes, ankles. He always plays through it, and he always produces. I think one of the guys that intrigued me is Al Robinson. Al Robinson goes up to against a Giants team that really can't stop anybody when it comes to the secondary. So I could very, very well see Al Robinson having a big game in New York. Now, on the flip side of that, what we mentioned earlier, Golden Tate looks like he's going to play this week, which means you're going to stop and take targets away from, in my opinion, their most explosive receiver in Darius Slayton. But Daniel Jones did throw the ball 41 times. It shows that they will throw the ball early. They will throw it often. So they will get their hands on the ball some way, whether it be in garbage time or whether it be, during normal gameplay. But I think that ball is going to be spread around a lot. So even Golden Tate coming back, I still don't think hinders the ability for Darius Slayton to have a really big game. Now, Hollywood Brown. What do we do? Hollywood Brown, is he going to break out against Houston? If you look at it, it looked like, Patrick Mahomes kind of had his way when he was passing the ball around on Thursday night against the hapless Houston Texans, who really weren't getting any kind of pass rush. And wearing J.J. Watt was kind of not even on the field, it looked like, half the time. And, besides Merciless, I really don't know of any players that are really that, threatening when it comes to a defensive standpoint. So I would really look at Marquise Brown. I think this is a week where Hollywood Brown could go off. I think that a guy like DJ Chark is interesting. Listen, they go to Tennessee. Gardner Mitchell was 19 for 20 last week. Chark did score. And whether it's, garbage time or not, I think, listen, there's only him and Keelan Cole are the guys out there. And I think DJ is that big play receiver that, even though he's on a bad team, he's got to kind of be like the A.J. Green was for so many years. A.J. Green was the guy in Cincinnati that was on a bad team, but was always productive from a fantasy standpoint because they were always throwing from behind, or, excuse me, they were always there, whether it be, a little bit in the game, but they were more of a fantasy friend than an NFL competitor, kind of like the Atlanta Falcons. So, Dallas Cowboys intrigue me a little bit too. Andrew, what's up, buddy? Thanks for checking in as always. Doing a little fantasy talk today, Andrew. I don't know how your lineups look, but get your pen and paper ready, man. We're giving out some really good stuff here. Make you think about who is that guy in Dallas this week. Amari Cooper showed exactly who he is, in my opinion. This is why I'm a Michael Gallup guy, not an Amari Cooper guy. 10 catches, 81 yards, 8.1 yards per carry, which shows you that. Listen, Amari Cooper is not an exciting player. He's there. He's getting a paycheck, and I don't really think that he's that big play guy. Andrew doesn't do fans. All right, buddy. Well, go Bird, but absolutely. Listen, we're all about to go Birds, right? I got my trot on, my good luck jersey today for the Eagles, because we can't go down 0-2. That's for damn sure. That cannot happen. But let's switch right to Tom Brady. Will Tom Brady break out today? Will we see the Tom Brady of old? Will we see the 300-yard Tom Brady? Will Bruce Arians get this ship together? Will Tom Brady be able to be protected long enough to be able to actually throw the ball down the field? Because I think that was one of the most important takeaways from that game, was he was getting knocked down on the regular, and he did not have a lot of time to throw the ball, and he did not have a lot of time to set his coverages up. So that's one thing about Tom Brady. He's used to sitting back there, right? He's used to sitting back there and getting to the point where he could survey the entire field and just pick and choose who he wants to throw to. He didn't have that ability last week. He didn't. So that line's going to have to get a lot better in order to protect a 40-plus-year-old quarterback, especially Tom Brady, who does not like getting hit. He was awfully nice last week, but that will not last in Tom Brady land. Trust me, it will not last. He will definitely have his opinions on point if he keeps getting knocked down as a turf. Nope, all that hype and nothing. Andrew says, listen, Andrew, I don't know, man. I know it's hype. It was week one, different system, different format. They had a couple guys injured. I think that, getting that line together was probably the most important thing. So we'll see if Tampa Bay can jump back up on the side, so to speak, this week, and see if they can actually produce. Looking down, there's a couple intriguing options to me. I think the start of the week, if you're not on it yet, in my opinion, is Corey Davis. Corey Davis is the start of the week. Corey Davis, what he has done, he reverted the clock, so to speak, back to 2018. We all know what we expected out of Corey Davis last year, and it didn't happen. But listen, A.J. Brown came in. It was the evolution of A.J. Brown last year. We did not know A.J. Brown was going to be that electric. Nobody knew. Nobody knew Ryan Tannehill would be the starting quarterback, mid-season and take over from Marcus Mariota. Nobody thought that was going to happen. And then when it did happen, nobody thought that Ryan Tannehill was even going to be productive. So, you have to look at all the scenarios here. And one thing's for sure, Corey Davis can play. He's explosive. He's exciting. He's still young. And last week he showed 7 for 101. He had the targets. He had the catches. He had the quick moves. This week, Jacksonville, 30th ranked pass offense, no A.J. Brown. It's just too easy. It's setting it up for not only a Derrick Henry show, but a Corey Davis show. And another guy that could be a big recipient of catches is Jonnu Smith. Because, listen, Jonnu Smith is going to be there to take whatever targets don't go to Corey Davis that would have went to A.J. Brown. So I think this is a really good game offensively from a fantasy standpoint for the Tennessee Titans. I do. I think this actually could be a shootout, depending on what Jadeveon Clowney is able to do. I don't know if Vic Beasley is playing or not, but Tennessee has a really good line if healthy. So we should see what they do to Gardner Minshew and company. But, on the flip side with that Tennessee team, I just think that they're explosive enough to really, really get it. Justin, TC, I got a dilemma. What's up, Justin? How you doing, buddy? I need a replacement, Font or Goddard. That's an interesting dilemma. Very, very interesting dilemma. The only thing I will say is I think they both – I love Noah Font. I really do. I think Noah Font is one of the up-and-coming young tight ends of the National Football League. What I will say is it's not going to be easy for Drew Lock to go into Pittsburgh, whether fans or not, up against that defense. Bud Dupree is going to be in his face all day long. The one good thing is it looks like Cortland Sutton may play, which means that he's going to command some attention. But I think that the more likely guy to score would probably be Dallas Goedert. I think I like them both. I just think that the matchup for Font is not as good as Goddard. Now, I understand that everybody looked at what the Rams did on Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys and how they disrupted that line and they disrupted the cadence. I understand that. But one thing I would say is that was only week one. The Eagles actually did a pretty good job on certain areas. A lot of that stuff was Carson. And if Carson could develop that cohesion in the first couple series of the game, Goddard's going to be very involved in this game. I really think so. I think he's going to get it out fast, and I think Goddard's going to be a real big recipient of a lot of catches this week. I do like Noah Font, though, Justin. And I honestly think that you're talking about maybe a 6-point difference between the two. Font could get some garbage looks. I just think Drew Lock's going to have a really tough day against that Pittsburgh defense out there, which is why I'm not big on Melvin Gordon this week at all. I was leaning towards Goddard, but Font. Listen, Font is, and you said it. He's almost like, remember when Vernon Davis came in to the league and everybody's like, this guy is an absolute freak. It's the same kind of thing. And you think about, if you look at that Denver team is going to be really good for a long time offensively. They're building a nice little nucleus out there. Guys like Courtland Sutton, Noah Font, Jerry Jeudy, KG Hamler. I mean, these guys they're very, very good and very athletic. So they're building a nice nucleus as long as Drew Lock can develop, which I think he can. It's going to take him a couple years, but I think Drew Lock will develop into a very, very good quarterback. Will he be Joe Burrow? Absolutely not. Not everybody's going to be Joe Burrow, but I will say that I think he will develop into a really good quarterback. Now, talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have to talk about Deontay Johnson. And he was a guy who everybody thought was going to break out. Now, Juju's got the 2 touchdowns last week. We understand. Ben looked like he was back a little bit. But Deontay Johnson had 10 targets last week. He was all over the field, 6 for 57. And not to mention that, I don't know about Bradley Chubb this week for Denver. We all know that Von Miller is now out for the season. So the Denver defense is kind of in shambles. I don't know who they're going to stop. But Deontay Johnson has the ability to do things that Juju can't do, right? Really, who is a good string to replace Breeze? Why are you replacing Breeze? Are you Keep playing Jeezy at halftime. I like it. Nick, why are you replacing Breeze? You don't want to start Breeze this week? Does he scare you? I'm trying to think why. Are you worried about the Michael Thomas factor? Is that what we're worried about? Because I still think they're going to throw the ball, a lot, because they always do. But it will be a tougher matchup. I'll tell you what. If I'm streaming anybody, I'm telling everybody I'm streaming Josh Allen. I started to show Josh Allen to me is the streamlined pick of the day. From the quarterback perspective. If you're not streaming, yeah, exactly. I got you. You came in late. Worry about the Thomas factor, which that's fine. I get it. You listen, to expect Emmanuel Sanders to outbeat a guy. No, I mean, listen, we all know Sean Payton. It's a good point. Sean Payton is liable to go out there and throw a 1-2 punch of Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara all day long and barely even throw the ball. So that's actually a really good point, Nick. I'll be honest with you. I really, really, really like Josh Allen. It depends if you're streamlining. Are we talking DraftKings DFS? If you're streaming, or you're talking about you're streamlining based off your PPR league. I mean, that'll be a different story. You're gonna have to tell me who's even available or who your backup is. But if you're able to pick guys up on DraftKings, if you're talking about that kind of streamlining on DFS, then I would 100% all in on Josh Allen. And I would take a flyer on Tom Brady too, to be honest with you. I think Tom Brady is going to have a good week this week. I do. But I think Josh Allen will be the number one quarterback in fantasy this week. Not Lamar Jackson. I know a lot of people are on Kyler Murray, but be careful with Kyler Murray. So I'm going to say, be careful with Kyler Murray. It's not. Listen, guys, it's not Jay Gruden anymore. It's Jack Del Rio's show on defense out there. It's Ron Rivera's show, so you really, really have to be careful. Interesting. So you're talking PPR Rivers and Tanny. Ooh, man, that's a tough call, Nick. I will tell you, Phil Rivers threw the ball a lot, and Minnesota gave up a ton of points to Green Bay. I think they're going to throw a lot again. I do, especially with Marlon Mack being out, and they're probably going to try to protect the rookie and Jonathan Taylor. They're going to give him the rock a little bit, but not to the not to the 20-25 carry juncture. So I think they're going to throw a lot of swing passes to Hines. Jack Doyle is out as well. Listen, if I had to, it's hard to go against Drew Brees. It just is. And Vegas is not a team that stops a lot of people. But if you're really, really worried about it, I definitely wouldn't be Tannehill. I definitely wouldn't go Tannehill. Only because I'm really not sure what he's going to do. Rivers, right there. Rivers is the most intriguing because Rivers is going to throw the ball. Right, Rivers threw 46 times last week when we did not expect it against Jacksonville. We did not expect him to throw the ball 46 times, and that was when he had all his running backs healthy too. So I think Rivers is going to have a good week this week. I do. I think he's going to throw the ball a lot. I do. I know people are second guessing him, and that's fine. But Minnesota looked lost on defense last week. They really did. They looked completely lost. They look like they were, but here's the thing. Look at this stat, okay? When we're judging Phillip Rivers, as much as we were surprised that he threw the ball 46 times, and even though they lost, Phillip Rivers had a 78% completion rate. He was 36 for 46, 363 yards. He did throw 2 picks. I get it, but it just shows that his accuracy is still there, and he still has T.Y. Hilton. He still has Paris Campbell there, and he has Nyheim Hines, who I think he's going to use a lot. I really do. So listen, Nick, if you're really, really, really that worried about Drew Brees, then if there were my options and you were that worried about Brees, then I would go Rivers. I would. I think Rivers is going to have a very, very good day today. Agree on listen, I think it's going to be the Derrick Henry show. I think Tannehill will get at least 1 touchdown to Corey Davis, but I think this is going to be the Derrick Henry show. Derrick Henry is going to run a lot today. This could be a 30-carry day for Derrick Henry. So That's my take on that. But if you're streamlining on DFS, I'll tell you right now, I'm not taking Drew Brees. I'm taking Josh Allen all day long. I love Josh Allen this week. I really, really do. This has all the makings to be a really, really good week. It really does. He had a good week last week, but has the makings to be even a better week if that's even possible this week. Now, in Jacksonville, let's look at the running back situation. James Robinson, who I would have never predicted, got the lion's share of the carries last week. I did not think that was going to happen. I didn't. You got 16 carries, only 62 yards. It was 3.9 yards per carry. But I thought Chris Thompson would have been in the mix a lot more, but only got the ball 3 times, which is really, really, really odd. Real Titan say, Nick, absolutely. Thanks for checking it. Nick, let me know how you make out too, man. I'm curious. So hit me up today. I'll be very active at Zeke23. I'll be watching Red Zone all day, jotting out some notes for the Fantasy Firebox this week. So check in. Let me know how you make out. Let me know what you do. Miami is so bad. You know what? Actually, Justin, Miami's not that terrible. They're not that terrible. Brian Flores is a great coach. They're working. Listen, they traded their number 1 defensive player last week to Pittsburgh, right? So what can they do, right? They are definitely rebuilding. But listen, Cam was only 15-19 last week. He didn't set the world on fire. 155 yards. That's nothing. So Miami didn't do a bad job. Cam is just very deceptive with the ball. When he has those reads, he has those long shotgun takes. He holds the ball longer than any other quarterback in the NFL. It's crazy. The RPO with him is insane. He's definitely perfected it. So, I think this more has to talk about Ryan Tannehill. Josh Allen just being that good. A lot of people didn't think that Josh Allen this week was going to come in and throw 73% or 71% of his passes. But guess what? They did. And I tell you what, with Stephon Diggs and John Brown, those guys, they're going to be really good again this week. They really, really are. But you get back to the Jaguars, I wouldn't put a lot of faith in James Robinson. I still think eventually it will be Chris Thompson's show. Frank Gore gets a start for the Jets in San Francisco. Man, the Jets are just a complete dumpster fire. I don't understand what is going on with the Jets, man. I don't. And one thing's for sure, we don't know if they found their quarterback, right? We have no idea. We don't know if that's Sam Darnold. We have no idea. Zero. Adam Gase looks lost, which is just absolutely crazy. Josh Allen on paper had a great game, but he had some awful throws. Listen, Justin, he may have had some awful throws, right? But again, 71% he completed. That's not a bad day in the office when you're a quarterback, right? That's not a bad day. Listen, it's anything above 70% to me is pretty good. He's never going to be the most accurate guy. He's just not. But when you think about, here is a guy who has the size, right? Here's a guy who has the ability, and he has the mobility to get away. And he's still learning on the job and able to put up that kind of performance. That's when it's special. Right? That's when it's special. So that's the one thing. 71% is still set. Yeah, 71%, Justin, from a quarterback perspective. If you look around the landscape of quarterbacks, that's actually not that bad, dude. Like literally 33 of 40, he threw the ball 46 times and connected on 33 of them. He missed 13 passes. I'll take that. Right? It's different when you throw that many balls, right? We're talking about, if he was 15 for 40, yeah, that's a little different, but 33 or 46, really, honestly, I don't think that's that bad. And again, we're judging it on Josh Allen. So based on what he did and what his pass was, that's what I'm basing this on, right? I'm basing it on what he did in the past, not what, obviously if we're talking about another quarterback, like a Lamar Jackson or a Patrick Mahomes, and we're talking about 71. Listen, that's a little different. But Josh Allen, that's pretty impressive in my opinion, especially when you look at what he did. Listen, Patrick Mahomes was 24-32 for 75%, 4% more. That's what I'm saying. So 71% for Josh Allen is pretty damn good when you look at the entire landscape. Another guy, David Johnson. What will he do for an encore? He's facing a tough matchup in Baltimore. He only got the ball 11 times last week on Thursday night. And I guess that's mainly because of the way the game developed and the way that, kind of Kansas City jumped out to an early lead. But still, I mean, that first drive, he looked really good. He looked like he had a little spring back in his step. He looked like the David Johnson of old. Will he continue on that streak? I don't know, man. Listen, David Johnson is one of the most intriguing guys to me because 2015 and 16 were so damn good. 2016, he was absolutely electric, right? 1,239 yards, 16 touchdowns. I mean, 80 catches for 900 yards. He was like the Marshall Faulk. He was the Larry Johnson. He was the Priest Holmes. He was, listen, that's who he was. He was the Christian McCaffrey. He was the guy we were like, wow, this guy's going to blow up. And then, boom, injury set in, hurt, right? Then he comes back the following year, which we all know it takes 2 years. And then he had just a really weird year in 2019, and now he's in Houston. So his last 3 years have been very strange. He's been seldom used. And, he looks to get back on a tear here, behind center under a really good quarterback. I think it would have benefited him more if DeAndre Hopkins was still here, obviously. But I just think the O'Brien system out there is just very, very weak. And I just have no good vibes at all when we talk about that. 50 for 40 is Vince Young territory. You goddamn right with that. That's pretty bad, 15 for 40. No doubt about it. Maury, what's up, Trevor? PPR League. What's up, Janet? How you doing? Thanks for checking in. Janet _ ER nurse. I love it. If you are the ER nurse, thank you for your service. Let me say that first and foremost. And I hope you are being safe and healthy for real. I mean, in this world, it's crazy. PPR League for my last flex spot. Mike, listen. It's not Brandon Ayuk. I like Brandon. He's a rookie, right? So we don't know. I'm not trusting Jimmy G. I'm not trusting any kind of offensive firepower through the air when we talk about the Niners this week. I love Corey Davis. Corey Davis is one of my favorite picks of the week, and Mike Williams is one of my picks of the week too. So it's between Mike Williams and Corey Davis. And I have to look at quarterbacks. Do you trust Tyrod Taylor more? Or do you trust Ryan Tannehill more? Now, what I will say is, Mike Williams likes to go up and get it. So Tyrod Taylor did look to him a lot last week for those go up and get balls. But Corey Davis is facing the 30th ranked passing defense in the league in the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think Corey Davis is going to have a big week. So if I were picking, and I know it's against the grain because a lot of people are like, I'm not sold on Corey Davis yet. Just looking at a matchup per se, I would really like Corey Davis. I think Corey Davis is the pick there. But I will say this, Jenna, I think you have ample opportunity to be able to use both of them, either or. I don't think either one of those guys are going to steer you wrong. I don't. I think we're talking a mix of maybe, 5 or 6 points, depending on, Kansas City. Kansas City is a really good team, right? So Kansas City could go up really, really big, and the Chargers could be throwing from behind, which could equal a lot of garbage points for Mike Williams. But the same thing could happen to Corey Davis. I just think Corey Davis is more explosive, and I just really like that pick this week. So good luck with that. Let me know who you pick. I said this earlier to Nick. Nick asked me about quarterbacks. I want to keep this as interactive as possible. I really do. Thanks, kind of thing. Yeah, let me know. Again, follow me at Tcatillo23. If you don't follow me yet, give me a follow on Twitter. I'll be highly active. Listen, I finally decided to get out in front and center of everybody here. Been doing this for a long time, having a lot of fun. So, join us on our group there, join the Fantasy Firebox, and let me know how you make out. But I will tell you this, Corey Davis is in my DraftKings lineup. So, Jenna, if you start Corey Davis, and I'm starting Corey Davis, we're both obviously going to be either happy or sad at the end of the day. Eagles fan, I take it absolutely. Fly Eagles fly. I got the Jeremiah Trotter jersey on. I got the Axeman. I'm getting ready. Listen, I'm taking us up to 10 o'clock. Then I'm gonna go do the dad thing, get some soccer pictures, get the kids all geared up, then get back by 1:00, get in front of that TV. I'm gonna have the red zone on a small TV, Eagles on the big screen, and we're gonna be ready to go, Jenna. So fly, Eagles, fly, right? That's what we say. Oh, wait. She said I'm a Niners fan, and we looked bad last week. Listen, Jenna, I'll tell you what, I'm not impressed by your boy Jimmy G. I'm telling you right now, Jimmy G is going to be the downfall. I do not trust Jimmy G. I didn't trust him last year. I don't trust him this year. He looks very soft back there. Looks very, very bad. Jimmy G is the prototypical quarterback that cannot get touched. If Jimmy G does not have to move and he doesn't get rushed, he's good. But if he does, he collapses, Jenna. That's the problem. And I think Mike, I keep saying Mike, I think Kyle Shanahan knows that. And I think that's why he had that 3-horse running attack last year towards the end. And he was keeping Jimmy G's throws down under like 15 attempts a game. And I think you're going to see that again. And now that you don't have George Kittle this week, can Mohamed Sanu, can Brandon Ayuk coming off an injury? Can they actually build up that Niners offense? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Jenna, what I do like, though, as a Niners fan, I will tell you this. I'm a big Jerick McKinnon guy. I've been hyping up Jerick McKinnon all season. I love to see him back on the field. I think he's a very explosive player. I think you're going to get a lot out of him, especially when we talk about, running back screens out in the flat as he gets stronger and healthier. I think that's one of your biggest assets on that offensive side of the ball. And I don't think there's a faster running back in the league than Raheem Mostert. He is that fast. He really is, Jenna. I swear. Jenna, I will tell you this, and I'm gonna get hurt, from a lot of my Eagles people, but I was a huge Niners fan growing up, man. That West Coast offense, I was a huge Niners fan watching those Joe Montana, Steve Young teams. Roger Craig, John Taylor, Jerry Rice, obviously. Charles Haley on the defensive side of the ball. I was a huge Niners fan growing up. I really, really, really. Tom Rathman was one of my favorite players. He was a horse, man. He really was. So, I go back when I talk about the Niners. So, Jenna, thanks for checking in. I hope you get a win this week. I do, but fly, Eagles, fly for me. The Eagles cannot go down 0-2. I can tell you that. What's it say? Do us a favor, beat the Rams. Listen, I'm trying. Jenna, we are going to absolutely try our best. That's all I can say. I have to hope our offensive line holds up, and I have to hope Carson Wentz wakes up and remembers to get rid of the ball early and not take all those sacks. That's for damn sure. Dime time. Look at this. We're checking in with the bots, man. People with the bots. Come on, man. People with the bots. What? Week 4 Niners. Ooh, 12-9. Look at that. All field goal game. We talking all field goal game, Jenna? I like that. That might be one hell of a boring game to watch, but it's definitely going to give our place kickers something to do. I hope we do beat the Niners, and I know you hope you beat us, but I'll tell you what, I really hope there's more points scored than that. It's going to be a tough game to watch. It run the ball today. What a novel idea. Absolutely, Andrew. Checking in. As always, watch and stream. I appreciate it. We got to run the ball today, whether it be Miles or Corey. We got to run the rock. Let's look at the Eagles before we get out of here. The Eagles and the Rams game from a fantasy perspective. There's a lot of fantasy plays in this game. A lot of fantasy plays. I do have. You have Ertz in your fantasy team. Are you starting Zach Ertz today? Are you worried about Dallas Goedert? Are you worried about him dropping a few of those passes last week? He did score, right? Okay, so you're starting to listen. Zach Ertz is always. It's Carson Wentz's best friend, right? We all know that. There's a lot of stuff going on. The only thing I worry about with Zach Ertz is that Dallas Goedert becomes, he kind of becomes the number one guy this year. I think Jenna, he really looked good, really looked good. And I'll tell you what was the pass numbers from last week? Are you pass run numbers from last week? Well, I could tell you this. I'll have to look them up, Andrew. I know for a fact that we definitely passed the ball more than we ran. Don't say, Jenna's like, don't say that. Jenna, I'm telling you, listen, Dallas Goedert looked like a different player to me last week. He did. He looked like he was running more crisp routes. He looked like he was definitely running faster than what I've seen in the past. And he looked like he was able to get off of coverage a lot easier. And he looked more comfortable catching the ball. I hate to say it, he looked like a Travis Kelce out there, man. He really did. He looked really good last week. It was yeah, Andrew, it was definitely pass heavy. I don't have it right in front of me, but it was definitely pass heavy. I will get it for you before we end the stream. Trevor, we're starting to show on my flex or go with Ronald Jones or James Robinson. I cannot start James Robinson. I couldn't do it. I just can't start a number one running back on the Jacksonville Jaguars that was undrafted. I really can't. Ronald Jones intrigues me this week, especially because there is no Chris Godwin. And I think that even Fournette was in there. He didn't look tremendous. Ronald Jones actually looked pretty good. And I think Ronald Jones will get a lot of different plays out in the flat and in the screen game, which I think is going to help Tom and that offensive line. So I think that I'm leaning towards Ronald Jones because, listen, Deshaun Jackson, man, Deshaun Jackson bit me hard last week. It told Deshaun proves that he could play. I mean, you heard Doug talking about load management, basically. Listen, I can't start Deshaun Jackson until I see him as a weekly contributor in a productive role for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's for damn sure. Coach going to get Wentz killed just like that. Listen, Wentz going to get himself killed, Andrew. That's the problem. Wentz is going to get himself killed. Wentz has to get rid of the ball. Listen, as much as the pass heavy attack is not good, what I will say is a lot of that stuff from Carson Wentz was on him, man. A lot of that was on him, and he's got to stop. He's got to get rid of the ball. That's one thing. He has to stop holding on to the ball. He has to sense pressure. And he still cannot do that. And until he does that, he's going to get hurt. He just is. No matter what he does, no matter what, he is always going to be susceptible to getting hit because of holding on to the ball. Now, Andrew, what I will say is we ran the ball 17 times. Threw the ball 42 times. So it was a 17 to 42 ratio, Andrew. So we only ran the ball 17 times in Philadelphia last week, and we threw the ball 42 times. So think about that. So I think that that pass run ratio comes back together a little bit this week. I'll tell you what, though, the Rams scare me. They do. They have a lot of good weapons. Malcolm Brown, from a fantasy perspective, I would be starting Malcolm Brown this week. The Eagles, even though they're good up front, they do show that they are susceptible to the big run, and I don't trust their linebackers to be able to get to that next level. So I think Malcolm Brown's a good start. Listen, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are going to be tough to defend. Now, who is Darius Slay going to be on? Because Darius Slay made Terry McLaurin look really bad last week, and Darius Slay looks like he came to ball in Philadelphia. So will he shut? He will probably be on Cooper Kupp, but they may switch him out all day long between Kupp and Robert Woods. Robert Woods just got paid, got some money, so he's going to be looking to show that he was worth that contract. And don't sleep on, from a fantasy perspective, at the tight end position, don't sleep on Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee could be a sneaky play this week for the Rams when we talk about going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. They all, listen, Logan Thomas had a really good game last week. A undrafted rookie, from the Washington football team that they really zoned in on when we talk about Dwayne Haskins. So I think the same thing could happen this week with Tyler Higbee. And I think Higbee could really get us up out in the seam and cause some really bad matchups for the Philadelphia Eagles. So from a fantasy perspective, you know what? Birds +1, a good play. Andrew, that's interesting. Birds +1. I think I might take that bet. I do. I think I might take that bet. I'm not sure. Because I think this is a must win. Jenna, thank you. Follow you on Twitter. I really like this page. Thank you so much. Yeah, Jenna. Listen, I do a lot of work. Try best I can to give you guys what you want. I just so you know, Jenna, I go live every day. Do a Jigsaw's Judgment that is based on Philadelphia, and then I also go national. 3 times a week talking fantasy football, no doubt. Uh, you double my what's a big man Finelli? What's up, Jason Finelli? Double my money last week. Need that help again. What did I help you out with, Jason? What do I help you? The hardest working man in town. Andrew, you know me, buddy. I must throw about 15 streams a day. And listen, Jenna, Andrew, anybody, I'm trying to get this YouTube page going. So please let me know. Go subscribe. Heat Ratio Sports. All my content will be there. The stuff I do for Fox Sports The Gambler, Philly Influencer, for the Heat Ratio, everything I do on my own. Please give us a follow at Heat Ratio Sports, and we go live on the Heat Ratio. If you're not subscribed to the Heat Ratio podcast, please do that as well. Good morning, buddy. Need sack the quarterback to win. Jimmy V, what's up, my man? Checking in. Absolutely. Our Niners, yes, absolutely. Niners fans allowed to visit. Absolutely. Jenny, you could be our, listen, I always bring other people in. Here's the thing. I like to bring people into the Heat Ratio that are from other fan bases so they can give us a scoop. So listen, you're more than welcome. Come on, join. You could be our Niners insider, right? So I have certain people that I look forward to for some news and let us know what's going on. So Jenna, you come join us and be our Niners insider. And we are in. Right? You could be our Niners insider. I'm in with that. Big man Finelli. What are we looking at, man? What are we looking at? I'll tell you what, Josh Allen's my play of the week. I could tell you that. Hey Finelli, here's what I'll tell you. Help me in Yahoo DFS. I'll tell you who my DFS lineup is this week. Okay. I absolutely tell you. And you tell me what you like. I have a couple of them. Okay, but I have I'm kind of messing around with one of them, and I'm kind of going all in my money lineup this week, which I'm really happy with. Is I like Josh Allen a lot. Jimmy G is going to throw 3 touchdowns. Whoa, Jenna, let's see about that. Jimmy, we better check with me later on that one. 3 touchdowns this week. I like where you're thinking, but I don't know. Not trusting Jimmy G to even throw 1. And you're going 3, so you got that fandom going right now. I love it. But hey, Jason, big Finelli, listen up. Josh Allen, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Nyheim Hines, Julio Jones, Deontay Johnson, Corey Davis, Janu Smith, Stephon Diggs in my flex, and the Titans defense. That is my big money lineup for DFS this week. I really, really like Josh Allen. I think he's going to be the number 1 play this week from a quarterback position. I love CEH. I love the usage. Nobody's going to get the ball more. I love Hines in the flat. I think with Marlon Mack going out, Hines going to even get more looks this week in Minnesota. Julio Jones will bounce back from an injury-plagued week 1. He is a go, and we know when Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage get all those catches that Julio is next in line to have a big day. Deontay Johnson, I think, is going to break out for Pittsburgh. He had 10 targets last week. Denver's defense is in shambles. I really like what they're doing. Corey Davis, I think, has a really good week. He showed what he could do last week. There is no AJ Brown. The Jacksonville defense is 30th against the pass. That's why I kind of have a stack going with Corey Davis and Janu Smith at the tight end position. I think he has a big day as well. And listen, Stephon Diggs, he had 8 for 86 or 8 for 81, 8 for 86 last week. He was heavily targeted. That's what you're going to get from Stephon Diggs week in and week out. I think he does score this week. I think he does get in the end zone. So I like that. And again, I finished the Titan stack against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Indianapolis stack bit me last week, but you know what? I'm going with it again. I'm going with the stack this time. I'm going with Tennessee. I'm really, really comfortable with those picks. Let me guess. Rams thing. Nah, big man. I'm going Tennessee, man. I'm going Tennessee. Like I said, I really like that lineup. I do. It's one of my favorite lineups, to be honest with you. So I'm trying to see if I can let's see if I can share the screen with you guys. I dig it. Thanks, pal. I'll see if I can share the screen. Let me see. I may be able to share this screen so I can show you this lineup before I get out of here. Let's see. Oh, so no, hold on. That's I can't get that up. That's all right. Um, Listen, one thing I will say. Here we go. Checking in. Couch says Cooper Cup or Anthony Miller. That's an interesting one. Um, that's a very interesting one. I do like Anthony Miller. I do. Cooper Cup. Cooper Cup had a really good week. As did the Rams in the sense that he ran really good routes. And the Philadelphia defense is very susceptible to the big play. So, Cooper Cup could really excel this week. But what I will say about Anthony Miller is by catching that ball, he caught that. Listen, Cooper Cup only had 5 targets last week, 4 for 40, really low budget game for him. They were really, really keying on him a lot, and it opened up the game for Robert Woods. Anthony Miller had 4 for 76 and touchdown. I'm intrigued by Anthony Miller this week. I am, but it's hard. I'll tell you what, though, it's hard to go against Cooper Cup, right? It's hard to go against Cooper Cup. He to me, Cooper Cup is a elite receiver, right? He's an elite receiver, and he just had a down week. And I think, and Nick's checking in with Al Robinson. Exactly. And that's what I'm thinking. I think this is an Allen Robinson game. I really do. I think, Anthony Miller is on the come up. I love Anthony Miller, but I really, really like Cooper Cup this week. I don't think, but again, Cooper Cup is going up against Darius Slay, but I think they'll move him around, and I think they'll be able to get him some decent work in. So it's a tough call. But again, I always lean to the side of caution and say for the first few weeks, I just lean on the guys that I drafted to be my studs. So it's hard for me to bench guys like Nick is, like a Drew Brees or a Cooper Cup in week 1 or week 2 until I kind of gauge the landscape for the first few weeks. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one, but I would have to go Cooper Cup. But Andrew checking in with some Sixers talk. D'Antoni, leader in the clubhouse. I don't even want to talk about that. I would talk about Andrew tomorrow. Jigsaw's judgment. We're going to talk all about that tomorrow. Because I'm already infuriated. Gotcha. Thanks. Again, check me back in at TKTola23. Go give me a follow on Twitter and let me know how you make out. I'm going to go Cooper Cup. Let me know if you started Cup or you went Miller, and we could see where we went wrong or what we did right. So I like to analyze these picks and see how good we can make this. Let's make this a team effort going forward. This is a team effort, man. Just like the Eagles need a team effort to win today. Hey, what's up, Jesse? How you doing, buddy? Scotty Miller. This is another one. Until I get past the first few weeks, I still have to go Keenan Allen. Okay, Keenan Allen last week hit 8 targets. I know he didn't have a huge game, 4 for 37. And it is the Tyrod Taylor factor out there, right? But that whole offense looked off. So until Keenan Allen burns me again, I have to stick with him because Scotty Miller, to me, he's my sleeper of the week in DFS. I really like Scotty Miller, especially with Chris Godwin out and Mike Evans kind of hurting. So I think you can definitely see that from that perspective. I could see where you're coming from, is thinking about Scotty Miller. So it's just hard for me to trust a third receiver. Now, if we're talking about DFS, then I'll tell you what, then I would definitely go with Scotty Miller. But Keenan Allen, if I'm going standard PPR and he's on my league and I drafted him, I'd have to go Keenan Allen. Goddard or Ingram? I'm going to have to go Ingram. I do. The Giants threw the ball so much last week, and I know Golden Tate's coming back, but I really think that Ingram gets in the fray this week. And Goddard is a 50-50 play, especially with a guy like Zach Ertz. Ingram doesn't have anybody like Zach Ertz, so if I have Ingram or Goddard, I'd have to start Ingram. Final score, Andrew. I'm leaning 24-17 And unfortunately, I'm leading Rams. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Eric, thanks for checking in. Let's all be fans so we can enjoy the game and the activity. I'm with you, brother, as always. David Johnson or Ronald Jones of flex. Again, I like the prospects of Ronald Jones. I do. David Johnson only he even though he only had 11 carries last week, he did get 77 yards and he did score. So he did get a few catches. So I think they're going to use David Johnson a lot more this week. So I would go David Johnson, no doubt. Pick 2, Moore, Gallup, Filler, and Campbell. That's a good one. I'm going to, you know what? This is where I'm going to go. I'm going to go Michael Gallup and Paris Campbell. I know people may not like that, but Will Fuller to me dropped way too many balls last week. I'm not trusting him yet. DJ Moore is a number 1 receiver, but I just think with the matchup and everything that's going on out there in Carolina, I need him to get that rapport with Teddy Bridgewater first. I think right now he has it Robbie Anderson, so I'll have to get it with DJ Moore. I like Michael Gallup this week a lot. I like Dallas to snap back and throw the ball a lot this week. There's no Blake Jarwin, so the CD Lamb will probably get into the fray a little bit, but I think Michael Gallup will have a really, really good day. Paris Campbell, I like Paris Campbell a lot. I do. I think he's the guy. There's no Jack Doyle this week either, in Indianapolis. So I think he's that guy that Philip Rivers looks to and off. Everyone have a good football Sunday. Andrew, go Birds, fly, Eagles, fly. Andrew, absolutely. I'm just getting ready to get out of here. I had to go do the daddy thing, and we got to go get some soccer pictures. So I wanted to get this early. I'll be back on later throughout the games, maybe later tonight. We'll see how we all did. But everybody, thanks for checking in. Give me a follow at Tcatillo23 on Twitter. Follow at Heat Ratio Sports on Twitter and the YouTube page at Heat Ratio Sports. I really, really, really appreciate it. Before we go, last one, flex. Hines or Rojo? Listen, Hines all day, Jesse. Hines all day. Hines, I think, catches double digits today. 10 catches for Nyheim Hines. I think he's going to have a big day again. He was 8 for 82 last week. I think he goes like 10 for 90 this week. He's going to have a James White kind of day. So I would definitely go Nyheim Hines, especially with no Marlon Mack and a rookie guy in Jonathan Taylor. So everybody, enjoy your fantasy football. Thanks for everybody checking in. Had a ton of comments coming late. I loved it. I had to start early. I apologize. Was looking to go at around 12 o'clock. Had to go do the dad thing, get some soccer pictures for the boys. Then we'll be back watching Red Zone, watching Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly at Heat Ratio Sports. Give me a follow. We'll talk to you probably sometime later today. All right, everybody. Enjoy the games.